Welcome back, everyone. So what I want to do today is show you how you can use Google Drawings to create kind of a multi-day experience for students that can have a combination of text and images, even PDFs that we might have in our files that we want to use that we need to make kind of usable in this kind of Google environment, whether kids are working on Chromebooks or laptops, how we can even integrate like the use of a PDF into a multi-day experience. So I'm going to do a whole live build and kind of show you an approach that I might take that in a space where kids can work over multiple days. In this instance, I think I'll do something about like analyzing art from the Renaissance as a mock-up. What I'll even show you how to do as well, it's a little bit of a hack, but it's how you can actually put audio and video inside of a Google drawing. And the one really compelling reason for me is that it has almost this infinite canvas where if you need to create more workspace, you can do that just by dragging out that bottom corner. So let's just jump into this live and I'll show you the whole process. So I'm in Google Drive and I'll go to New, More, and then go to the Overflow menu into Google Drawings. And we're always given this a kind of blank space to work with. So I think what's really important here to recognize is in the bottom corner of Google Drawings, you have what looks like three tiny little dots in the corner or little stripes, and you can drag those to make the canvas bigger. So I'm going to actually drag that a bit now just to stretch the canvas out so you can see it. And now we have a little more workspace. So I'm going to get started building. So I'm going to add a little banner first, just so the students know what we're working on. I'll add, and just kind of separate out the workspaces. So this is Renaissance art. All right, so that's what we're going to be working on. And I just want to format this a bit to make it look I'm just a little bit particular about this, so I'll make it look a certain way. Do that background fill navy, and then make this font a little bigger just so it pops out a bit. All right, so we're doing some Renaissance art analysis. I'm going to stretch that out a bit. I want more room for them to work. So now let's get building. I want to give them, for example, 3 pieces to analyze with some support materials and resources and a place to work. And then I'll give them kind of a graphic organizer to work with in the middle, and then I'll give them a workspace off to the right where they can do their final writing assignment, and I'll either link to resources or even embed resources right inside of here. So let's get started. I'll go to the Insert menu, and I'd like to insert images, and I'll search the web because I don't have them built in. They're not in my files anywhere. So I'll do the Last Supper, for example, grab this one and add that image using that search tool and add that image right in. So now this is why I really enjoy the kind of infinite canvas that we're talking about. So I'll drop this in over here, add a little workspace on top of this so they know what they're looking at. So this is painting 1 will be the Last Supper. And again, I'm just going to format this the way I like so it looks a really particular way. So I'll center format that and change the font style. And once I do this once, then I'll just copy it over. I won't have to rebuild this every time. Drop my little background color here. I'll make that a bit bigger so it pops out a bit. All right, so there's the Last Supper. That's kind of painting number 1 that they're going to work with. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this because I'll give them piece number 2 and then piece number 3 as well. And I'm actually going to also build in a bit of navigation so they know like where they're supposed to start, and I'll show you that in a second. So we'll do over here, let's do Sculpture 2, the Pieta. And we're going to drop the Pieta in just a second. And then what I'll do is make a 3rd space. And this will be kind of like area number 1 or kind of workspace number 1 that they have. So do the same thing as before. I'll go to the image tool, search the web, and then over here, let me do that one more time. Image tool, search the web, and then we'll just grab the Pieta over here and add this in. So while I'm doing this, I was actually having an interesting discussion online with some folks, asking them like, hey, what's the workflow? What's the process or the amount of time required to kind of create a digital experience for students? Maybe say like a multi-day experience. And the general consensus is this can take, 3 hours to create a multi-day experience. So my hope is that even just by watching, maybe by watching this video, your workflow kind of speeds up a little bit, just get some of awareness of how you can start to build things. Sculpt show 3, they'll look at the David, and I'll do the same thing here. So insert image, the David, find that sculpture that I'd like to pull in and insert that. So now that I have my kind of core content that I want them to analyze, like basically the background knowledge or the background material that I want them to work with, and obviously you can format this any way that you want. I've made this kind of small and off to the side over here, but you can build these any way that you like to. Now I'd like to build in the kind of workspace for them where they can write about these pieces. So I'm just going to go with a text box here, and I'm going to drop in a text box for the Last Supper. And I like to bucket fill these light red and add a little bit of border, and that's almost indicating to the student, like, stop and work here. Like, that's your workspace, right? I'm going to copy and paste that because I don't want to rebuild it. And then I'll do the same thing. I'm building in this workspace right down below. This one's going to be about the Pietà, and then we'll do one more under here. And I'll mark these up as well for the students, that like this is your David workspace and this is your Pietà workspace, so they know. So we'll add here Last Supper analysis. Spelling would be helpful. Pietà analysis, and we'll do one more. All right. So I have my basic kind of working through the core content and the ideas. Now what I'm going to do is also demonstrate how we can add links to support materials and media like videos and websites, and then even embed the media inside of here. So I'm going to open up a new tab right now, and I'll jump to a website that I like to use for kind of art history content. Oops. Make that a little bit smaller. There we go. I like to use Smart History. So I'm doing a search for Smart History. This is the page I want my students to be able to reference. So this is kind of like a core skill inside of Google that if I want my kids to come here, I'm going to copy the link to that, go back to my Google drawing, and then I might put a note of support website, click here. Right, so they have that little extra bit of material to support them through it. Highlight those words, use the linking function, and then link to that website. So now they even have the kind of support. Now here's a little bit of a hack. On that website, there's a YouTube video. I'm going to open up that YouTube video. So now I'm opening it up in YouTube right now. If I want this video embedded, hold on a second. Pause this video. There we go. So now if I want my kids to have access to this video directly inside of the Google drawing, here's a little bit of a hack. What I need to do right now is open up a new set of Google Slides. You have to do this first. A little bit silly. I'm going to copy the link to this video, go to my Google Slides, and then do Insert Video from URL. And I'll do that right now. So I have the URL. I already copied it from YouTube. We're going to paste that in here. And so my video is going to show up in Google Slides. And you might be asking, like, why not just do the whole activity in Google Slides? And the reason being for me is the whole idea of this like infinite canvas that I can work on here in Google Drawings. So all I did was copy and paste that video. So if students need a little bit of support, I can also have potentially like a little support video here, right? Or if I had a video on the Pietà, I might put that video like right next to the image so kids can have the support video, and this plays right inside of Google Drawings, right? There's the video playing. So if you go to the insert menu, there is no insert video, but if you put it into Google Slides first and then copy and paste it, it will work. So now that we have part one, I really want to clearly indicate to my students that like, hey, this is part one of the assignment. This is what you're working on, maybe Monday and Tuesday, for example. So I like to do that through little circle kind of call out shapes. So I'm using the circle shape tool. I'm going to drop a big 1 over here. And I know this might seem kind of silly, but I think creating this opportunity for independent navigation by the kids is pretty important. So I'm going to drop a 1 in here, highlight that, make it bold, make it a little bit bigger, make the font color white so it kind of pops out from the blue background, and then center it. So now they know, like, that's my first stop. I'll even make the border so it pops a bit. There we go. That's the first stop in the activity. They're going to work on all that art analysis in those workspaces that I've pre-created with support video or support links. So now we need to keep building. We need to make this a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do now to make this bigger is I'm going to go to View and Zoom out to 50% so I can see the whole canvas. And from there, I'll grab these little triple lines in the corner. I'm going to stretch this out a bit because I need more space for my kids to work. And then once I've stretched it out, I'll go View, Zoom, and Fit. So now the whole thing fits on the screen. So with that, now let's make kind of part 2 to this experience. So to do that, I'll demonstrate how we can actually grab a PDF, screenshot that PDF, and drop it into this Google Drawing so then we can make that PDF kind of editable by the students. So let me just grab a file. I'll grab a graphic organizer. So say I have a file, a graphic organizer in my files, like this one here, for example. I might have this like concept definition map in my files, and I'm thinking, oh, I really want that in the drawing. So when the kids are done analyzing, they can kind of define the properties and characteristics of Renaissance art. So to do this, my workflow is I'm going to grab a screenshot of this right now, right? So there's my screenshot. I want that screenshot in my Google Drawing, and I'm just going to drag and drop that into here. Right, so if this is kind of part 2 of this experience, drag this out a little bit, have it fill up that workspace. I'll move it over, and I just like to kind of make these really clear delineations between where our kids working so they can feel confident navigating this on their own. I'm just going to drop this kind of blue border right in between these and then do the same color match here. I think that was the same one. We'll go a little bit darker so it matches. There we go. So like we have day 1 is over here, day 2 is over here. I'll grab this little 1. Oops, made a little bit of a mess out of that. Grab that 1. I'm going to copy that 1 and paste it so I don't have to rebuild it. We'll drag this over here. And this is going to be part 2 of this experience. We'll just drop a 2 on there. Now, how do I make that usable? What we need to do is drop in a text box. So I went to the text tool, and here's text box number 1. We'll drop that in. Now I'm just going to customize the font size so it makes sense. I'll make that be a 9-point font. Now I can take that, copy and paste, and then I'm just going to fill in every space. So I totally get it. Like, you know, editable PDFs are not the kind of pinnacle of educational technology. But if we're trying to get to the point where students can have kind of a well-developed opinion or perspective on Renaissance art, like this might be a functional part of the process to make this work. So what I'm doing here is just copying and pasting these text boxes so I don't have to recreate it. I don't have to change the font size. I'm just using Command C, Command V. It might be Control C, Control V on your PC. I'm using the arrow keys, right, just to move this around. You could use your mouse as well. So in a matter of moments, I've made that to be totally editable for the students. Now again, just to kind of break up the experience, I'll grab this little blue bar, drop it over here. And you don't have to do this. This is just something I like to do to kind of show part 1, part 2, part 3. I'm going to copy this number icon, drag this over here, and this will be part 3 in their process. And then over here, this might be like the fuller writing assignment. So why not just use a text tool? Right, I'm just going to use the text box, drop the text box in over here. I'm going to bucket fill that white so it feels more of like a formal writing environment. You just send it to the back order, send it back. So the 3 pops out on top of it. And now I can put a prompt here, an assignment, a task, anything I want for the kids to work on. So now in a relatively reasonable amount of time, and I'm not saying that everyone will have the same kind of workflow or comfort level with the tool, we're able to start with a blank workspace, add in kind of visuals, add in a workspace to deal with those visuals. We added in video, we added in hyperlinks, took a PDF and made that PDF usable through screenshotting and text boxes. And then we made that kind of final culminating writing space off to the right. So in a few moments, and I understand this wasn't like a 5-minute build, the whole demo where you saw me building live was about 15 minutes from beginning to end. But now what we've created, like I believe could be a valuable kind of multi-day digital workspace through Google Drawings. We could always use something like Google Classroom to assign this out to our students and make a copy for every student. And then you reasonably know where kids are working over multiple days in your class. So thanks for checking out the video. I'll put the link to this template down in the description section of the slides. And I hope you found this to be helpful and you can kind of have more confidence while you're building digital experiences for your kids.